West Virginia is off to a good start in this transfer portal cycle, as just yesterday they picked up 2 transfer commitments in one day. Let's talk about them. What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into the Country Roads webcast for another transfer portal update. As this transfer portal cycle heats up, these will continue to come at you hot and heavy, either pre-recorded fashion like this one or on live streams like the previous update on Mikael Clay, the offensive lineman that committed to the Mountaineers. But just yesterday, we saw West Virginia pick up 2 more commitments via the transfer portal, one coming on the offensive side, one coming on the defensive side, and we'll talk a little bit about each of those and update our transfer portal tracker, talk about some targets West Virginia has in the portal as well throughout this video. But before we get to all that, just want to give you guys a quick reminder, if you would, help us out. Just take a second, hit that thumbs up button. Giving this video a like will help hit that crazy YouTube algorithm, which helps it find more Mountaineer football fans like yourself. And if you are one of those that hasn't subscribed yet to the channel, be sure and do that so you can stay up to date on which transfers are coming in for West Virginia, who they're targeting, and who's going to be on this roster once August rolls around. We'll keep you up to date with all of that here on the Country Roads webcast. Throw your thoughts in the comments as well, whether it be on either one of these 2 commitments or the transfer classes that's shaping up thus far. Anything you got there, we always appreciate those interactions. With no further ado, let's talk about each of these prospects, starting with the tight end. That's funny because, it was just last stream, I think, or the stream before that I did on the channel. I was talking about how West Virginia was really thin at the tight end position after some guys had transferred out. They only had, I think, 2 scholarship players left, and then a former walk-on and Colin McBee there on the roster. So only 3 tight ends in total. So you knew at least one tight end addition was coming, maybe multiple. We do know for sure who one of those will be, though, and that is, of course, Grayson Barnes. So let's talk about him first, as his commitment came in yesterday for the Mountaineers. And as you can see, here is the announcement that he made yesterday. I believe it was tight ends coach Michael Neiswander and then one of the student assistants at the tight end position that tweeted out gifts. So I'm like, okay, we must have a tight end commitment coming soon. And it's a nice one, guys. Grayson Barnes is a really good receiving tight end. We'll talk a little bit about his game momentarily, but here was his announcement after entering the transfer portal. I'm very happy and blessed to announce that I am 100% committed to West Virginia, tagging tight ends coach Michael Neiswander in there. And you see some of the visit pictures that he shared there as well from his visit to Morgantown, which obviously impressed him enough to pledge his allegiance to the Mountaineers for the upcoming season, and super excited about this addition. Another one that comes due to that JUCO ruling with him having an extra year of eligibility left. He'll get to use that in Morgantown. So let's talk a little bit about his game, courtesy of Keenan Cummings over on the WVU Rival site with his Transfer 101 article. All right, so shout out to Keenan Cummings for these great write-ups that he does on these transfers once they commit to WVU. In regards to Grayson Barnes, he's 6'5", 225 pounds, so a little bit slender there. That could change over the summer, and of course, with the workouts heading into fall camp there with Mike Joseph, could put on a little bit more size if they like him to. But I also do believe that Rich Rod and company like their tight ends to be a little bit more close to that type of frame, tall and slender, as long as they can get up and down the field. That's kind of the main thing that they're looking at, is guys that can stay on the field with this up-tempo offense so that they don't have to substitute and can really go as fast as possible. That's why you like tight ends that are multifaceted in what they can do. Grayson Barnes, I think, more excels on the receiving side of things, but nonetheless, really excited about this addition. An experienced option, spending 2 seasons with the Huskies and 2 more at American River College. During his time at Northern Illinois, Barnes hauled in 54 passes for 760 yards and 9 touchdowns as a key passing option on the team. Prior to that, the athletic tight end was an All-American in 2022 at American River. He also had a productive year the season before that. He entered the transfer portal once the spring window opened and committed to the Mountaineers following his official visit, which we just saw the pictures from there. And tight ends coach Michael Neiswander was indeed the lead recruiter here for this talented tight end. Barnes gives West Virginia a versatile option at the position in a room which is lacking for numbers, and becomes the second transfer tight end on the roster, of course, alongside Jacob Barrick, who came over from Jack State and was here for the spring. 1 year of eligibility remaining for Barnes. Over his 2 seasons at Northern Illinois, he played a total of 773 snaps, and the majority of those were spent as a pass catcher, with 510 of those coming in that area. So like I said, definitely specializes in that role. Hopefully he's able to help out in the blocking game as well. That's the only concern I have about this addition. But what he brings to the passing game, you could not pass up him in the transfer portal just because of that alone. One of the best receiving tight ends I think that was available. He is versatile. He lines up both in the slot and in line. 264 times in the slot, 215 times in line. Also used out wide on 43 snaps. Average depth of target of 10.4 yards, while he demonstrated the ability to not only make contested catches with 8 and 22 attempts. I'll show you guys one of those impressive contested catches that he made here in just a second, but also created yardage after the catch with 355 of his yards coming after he had reeled in the pass. And you can see that when you watch his tape a little bit. He's actually a guy that has pretty good speed. If he gets in the open field, he can break away and take it the distance. He had a total of 261 blocking snaps over his career and did not allow a sack, but he has been most effectively used as a pass-catching option that can move around. Yeah, the blocking numbers on PFF, not the greatest for Barnes, but the fact that he did not give up a sack is a plus. I think all in all, even with the lack of blocking numbers and blocking statistics to look at, really, the receiving options make this a very big addition, a plus addition for West Virginia at a position of need at that tight end spot. But let me show you guys a little bit about what I'm talking about with his game. All right, so this is from the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, and you're going to see him go up and make one of those contested catches that was talked about there in that article, and he's going to do it with one hand in impressive fashion. If you haven't seen this going around yet, you're about to be impressed. Look at that, man. That's a throw that, if he doesn't make that grab, it could have been broken up, could have been intercepted, but goes up in between two defenders, high points the football, and shows you how talented he is at being a receiver, being able to grab that thing with one hand like it's nothing. One more time, take a look there. Wow. Impressive stuff. And like I said, that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. If you go watch his full film, you'll see him running away from guys after the catch. He really is great at making plays downfield and doing it all there in the receiving game at the tight end position. So let's pull up our transfer portal tracker now and talk about this transfer class and how it's shaping up. As you can see, after Grayson Barnes, of course, we had Mikael Clay. If you want to learn a little bit more about him, check out the live stream I did on the channel where I featured him, the offensive line transfer from North Alabama. So now we have Mikael Clay in the fold, tight end Grayson Barnes in the fold, and we also added a defensive back yesterday, who we're going to talk about now, and that would be none other than cornerback Nick Taylor, another addition coming over from Appalachian State. So this is courtesy of the Rod West connection, the second Appalachian State cornerback to follow him to WVU. We already had Jason Chambers, who came in for the spring. Now we get Nick Taylor, who, Jason Chambers was someone who was experienced, veteran, and you got to get the opposite side of that coin now with Nick Taylor, someone that's young, maybe more of a developmental guy. I know those are rare in this day and age, but the fact that he wanted to follow his coach and Rod West probably speaks volumes, and the fact that Rod West wanted to bring him to Morgantown, I think, is a key here as well. He definitely sees something in the young man, Nick Taylor. So for now, time of this recording, this is what the transfer class looks like. Mikael Clay, Grayson Barnes, and Nick Taylor. Let's talk a little bit more about Nick Taylor. Then we'll talk about other targets that West Virginia's after, including some that we may be on commitment watch for because they have visited over the weekend. There is a look at Nick Taylor's commitment graphic that he shared on Instagram after he committed to the Mountaineers yesterday as well. Let's talk a little bit about his game. Yet again, this comes from Keenan Cummings over on the WV Rivals site. Nice little write-up here on this commitment of Nick Taylor, who is 6'1", 185 pounds. So already you like the length there that he provides at that spot. You like those corners that are over 6 foot. You need those, especially in power conference level here in the Big 12. You face a lot of tall receivers. Sometimes being undersized can be a bit of a disadvantage. So you like those lengthy, those rangy corners. I spent one season with the Appalachian State Mountaineers where he appeared in the final 7 games and even started one as a true freshman. Cornerback finished the season with 10 tackles and 1 pass breakup, over 147 snaps across the 2024 season. So not, like I said, not a ton of experience there, only 147 snaps, 10 tackles, and 1 pass breakup. So this is one that more looking at maybe towards the future and maybe to provide you depth this season. Taylor gives West Virginia a young cornerback option that already has experience under his belt and will step into a situation where he can compete with some of the older options on the roster. A native of Georgia, entered the portal back on April 15th and committed to the program only a few days later. Obvious connection here with former Appalachian State cornerbacks coach Rod West, now the cornerbacks coach at WVU. Taylor's the 5th true cornerback addition from the portal for the Mountaineers, joining Michael Coates, Devontae Golden-Nelson, Derek Carter, and fellow Appalachian State transfer Jason Chambers. The plus side here is he does have 3 seasons of eligibility remaining. Now, we know that guys don't always stick around for all of those, but it is good to see that he is a guy with multiple years left if he chooses to stick around in Morgantown, and hopefully he does. Limited sample size for Taylor since he played only 147 snaps over the course of 7 games as a true freshman. Total of 83 of those were spent in coverage, 11 catches when targeted, over 14 opportunities for 89 yards and a touchdown with 1 pass breakup. So like I said, they're not the most impressive numbers, but you got to trust Coach Rod West. He definitely sees something in the young man if he wants to bring him over and use one of these transfer portal spots on him. We knew we needed depth at the defensive back anyway. So, they're going to continue to try and improve this secondary, and Coach West feels, Taylor can help do that, then I'm all for it as well. Played on both sides at cornerback during his lone season, but spent his time at wide corner where he played a total of 139 of his snaps. He was an effective tackler and didn't miss a single one in his opportunities. So there you go. That's the really plus side there, is that he's a great tackler, as we've talked about here. Throughout this time, talking about Nick Taylor. Let's pull back up our transfer portal tracker now. Of course, his name's now on the transfer in list, but I want to talk about some of the other targets that we may be on commitment watch for here. All right, so there's one more look at our transfer in list. Offensive lineman Mikel Clay, tight end Grayson Barnes, and cornerback Nick Taylor. For now, we know this can change in a hurry and will change in a hurry. And who might be looking forward to add to that commitment list, to that transfer in list? Well, here are the players West Virginia has targeted. Like I said, this isn't an extensive list. These are just the ones that I've been able to, find out for myself. And these are a good list of names here, with multiple of these guys coming in on a visit over the weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and put a few of these guys on commitment watch, because that's kind of how I like to roll with this. Once they make the visit to Morgantown, I feel like we got a good chance of getting a commitment from them. So on commitment watch, because they did visit. Defensive lineman Eddie Kelly from Missouri. Be a nice pickup, 6'5", 280-pound guy. Could play multiple spots there on that front line. Think he would be a guy that would help right away and give us a big boost for this upcoming season right there in the trenches. So watch out for him. He visited over the weekend. Wide receiver Christian Hamilton from UNC. I think he had about 7 receptions last season. Didn't play a ton, but was very highly rated as a recruit coming out of high school. And let's not forget, West Virginia brought in Ashton Woods, a linebacker from UNC, in the first transfer portal cycle. So maybe that gives us an advantage here for Christian Hamilton, who also has visited. So we're going to put him on commitment watch. And then Shea Taylor, the linebacker from Ohio, he visited as well. Let's watch out for him in the near future. But you see some of these other names on the list. West Virginia is in contention for them, or after those guys as well, including defensive lineman Cam Rice from Ohio, who we've talked about in the past. It would be nice to get both those guys from Ohio. Cam Rice, highly sought after, but does have West Virginia ties. So keep an eye on all of these names, but those 3 that I just highlighted did visit over the weekend, so we are on commitment watch for them as we continue to try and track these transfers and our transfer portal updates here on the Country Roads webcast. But that's all I had for this one. Appreciate you guys tuning into it. Hope you guys are excited about these new additions, and can't wait to see more names added to that transfer in list. And as they are, we'll bring you future updates here on the Country Roads webcast. So be sure you got that subscribe button clicked so you can stay up to date on these transfer classes for both WVU football and WVU basketball. We'll keep you up to date on what's happening with the WVU football roster all the way up until the lead up and the start of the Rich Rod 2.0 era there in August. And just one more time before you head out, if you just take a second, hit that like button, help us out a ton with that YouTube algorithm just by hitting that thumbs up button. And be sure to throw your thoughts in the comments, whether it be on the addition of Grayson Barnes, Nick Taylor, or any other targets West Virginia's after. Always appreciate those interactions as we continue to try and grow the CRW community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.